It was New Year's Eve and dreadfully cold. The snow fell quickly in the darkening light as evening came on. In the cold and the darkness there walked along the street a poor little girl, bareheaded and with no shoes on. When she left home she had slippers on, it is true, but they were much too large for her feet, and the poor little girl lost them running across the street when 2 carriages were passing quickly by. When she looked for them, they were not to be found. So on the little girl went with her bare feet that had turned red and blue with cold. In an old apron that she wore, she had bundles of matches, and she also carried a bundle in her hand. No one had bought so much as a bunch all day long, and no one had given her even a penny. She crept along, trembling with cold and hunger, a very picture of sorrow, the poor little thing. The snowflakes fell on her long hair, which hung in pretty curls about her neck, but she didn't think of her beauty or of the cold. Candle lights shone from every window, and she could smell the beautiful smell of roast goose being cooked for New Year's Eve in all the houses. She was so hungry. In a corner between 2 houses, she sat down. She tucked her little feet in underneath herself, but still she grew colder and colder. She didn't dare to go home, as she hadn't sold any matches and hadn't made any money. Her father would certainly not be pleased. Besides, it was cold enough at home, as they had only a roof above them that was full of holes, and through which the cold wind whistled, even though the largest cracks were stopped up with straw and rags. Now her little hands were nearly frozen with cold. She thought that maybe a match might warm her fingers if she lit it. So at last she drew one out. She struck it, and how it blazed and burned. It gave out a warm, bright flame like a little candle as she held her hands over it. A wonderful little light it was. It really seemed to the little girl as if she sat in front of a great iron stove with a lovely fire inside it. So nicely it burned that the little girl stretched out her feet to warm them. How comfortable she was! But then the flame went out, the stove vanished, and nothing remained but the little burned match in her hand. She rubbed another match against the wall. It burned brightly, and where the light fell on the wall, she could suddenly see right through into the room behind it. A snow-white cloth was spread upon the table, on which were laid beautiful china plates, while a stuffed roast goose cooked away and made a most delicious smell. But the match went out then, and nothing was left but the thick, cold, damp wall in front of her. She lit another match, and now she was under a most beautiful Christmas tree, larger and far more prettily decorated than the one she had seen through the glass doors at the rich merchants'. Hundreds of candles were burning on the green branches, and little painted figures, like she had seen in shop windows, looked down on her. The child stretched out her hands to them, but then the match went out. Still the lights of the Christmas tree burned higher and higher into the sky until she saw one fall, forming a long trail of fire. "An angel," murmured the child softly, for her mother, the person who had loved her the most, had told her that whenever a star falls, an angel goes to heaven. She struck yet another match against the wall. It lit, and in its brightness her dear mother appeared before her, so bright and radiant, and with such an expression of love on her face. "Oh, Mother," cried the child, "take me with you. I know you will go away when the match burns out. You too will vanish like the warm stove, the splendid New Year's feast, the beautiful Christmas tree." And to make sure her mother would not disappear, she lit a whole bundle of matches against the wall, and they burned with such a brilliant light that it became brighter than the midday sun. Her mother had never looked so beautiful. She took the little girl in her arms, and they embraced each other joyfully. They looked up as a beautiful star blazed across the snow-filled sky. The end.
There were nights when the wind was so cold that my body froze in bed if I just listened to it right outside the window. There were days when the sun was so cruel that all the tears turned to dust, and I just knew my eyes were drying up forever. I finished crying in the instant that you left, and I can't remember where or when I have, and I banished every memory you and I had ever made. But when you touch me like this and you hold me like that, I just have to admit that it's all coming back to me. When I touch you like this and I hold you like that, it's so hard to believe, but it's all coming back to me. It's all coming back, it's all coming back to me now. There were moments of gold, there were flashes of light, there were things I never do again, and it always seemed right. There were nights of endless worries, it was more than any lost love. And by my forgive me all this.
I forgive you all that. We forgive and forget, and it's all coming back to me.